Welcome to Career Spotlight presented by Educational Opportunity Centers, EOC. My name is Bill Leonard. I'm an academic specialist with EOC, and I'll be your host on this career exploration and discovery journey. The objective of Career Spotlight is to learn about careers from industry professionals in an effort to educate students and the public so they can make more informed career decisions. The career we are highlighting today is workforce development professional. I'm excited to be joined by Helene Mancuso, Director of Workforce Development at Wayne Pike Workforce Alliance. Welcome, Helene.
Hi, Bill. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Helene, please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Sure. My name is Helene Mancuso. I'm the Director of Workforce Development for the Wayne Pike Workforce Alliance. I work with both job seekers and businesses to strengthen the quality of our workforce and really prepare for the careers of tomorrow.
Excellent. Helene, could you start out by defining for us what workforce development is, in your opinion? I know it's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but I think some people might not even know what it is.
Sure. It's really like a nebulous term, right? Nobody can really nail it down. So I've tried my best to kind of nail it down for us. So I think it's a synergy between economic development, education, and the public and private sectors. And I wrote some notes down, so I'm going to read them.
Sure.
Workforce development can include changes to the culture and changes to the attitude and really the way we work. I think we've seen that in the last couple of months that the world of work is really changing. So I think it's workforce development's role to kind of lead us into the next era of the future of work.
Sure. And the next question is sort of two-part. What does a workforce development professional do? And as an add-on to that, what are some jobs within workforce development?
Sure. Workforce development professionals do a variety of things, and you can really hone in on one or many things. I'm also a certified career coach, so that's one of the roles that I take on as a workforce development professional, as well as pushing policy at the state and local levels to further the workforce development system to respond more quickly to the changing ways of the world of work, and certainly the role of education and how we train the next generation to take on the responsibilities in work. There's also information technology professionals that certainly develop the backbone of the system of how we do it with the computers and, certainly the unemployment compensation system. Lots of information technology goes into the developing those kinds of those systems. Certainly LinkedIn is a part of workforce development. Certainly, the Indeeds of the world, the social media, how we learn about jobs. Also, there's case managers that work one-on-one, and I mentioned career coaching. There's also grant writers. A major part of the way we are funded is 100% grants, right?
Sure.
Bill, you know that. We're always looking and reaching for the next grant. So certainly grant writers and grant developers. And on the backside, we need those financial people to help us with the budgeting aspects of our systems. So pretty much, and any career you can think of, we can kind of work that into workforce development. I'm sure you can agree with that.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool too, because, if you sort of have a soft spot or a preference for working with a certain population, I think you could do that, right? So there's like out of school youth, there's reentry folks, there's people who are unemployed, there's people who just want to upskill. So I think, there's a lot of different ways that you can sort of work with that population that maybe you have an interest in, correct?
Absolutely. And even I'm thinking in terms of sectors. So if you want to specialize in sectors such as agriculture, which is a big sector in Wayne County, or hospitality, which with all of our resorts, that's another specialty that we have to, kind of hone the way we work with those different sectors too. So yeah, you can concentrate on sectors, or you can concentrate on careers. It's really the most important thing you can do when you're thinking about careers and workforce development is to find a good mentor. And that's sometimes not an easy process. And I would counsel anyone that's thinking about workforce development or case management or social work is to really kind of interview the professionals and the leaders to see who their mentors are and maybe kind of pick their brain a little bit to think about what they do.
Great. And Helene, how did you get into workforce development? Like, what was your career path?
Oh gosh. I don't know whether it was a path. I think it was a lattice. It had a lot of roadblocks and had a lot of turns.
Yeah, like most careers.
Right, right. But I think I can really look back to my beginnings in workforce was working with adjudicated youth in Philadelphia. And that was, I'm not sure that wasn't a cannonball into the workforce development system, because they're not really easy. That's not an easy springboard, right? That wasn't a really easy transition. But I think it really helped me think about, where are these kids going to go? You know, they're adjudicated, they're in group homes for adjudicated youth. They have to go to school, they have to go to court, they have to do all these kinds of things, but that's for the now. Where are they going to be in the future? So I really tried to work with my youth and thinking about, you know, what do you like to do? I know this is where you are right now. It's hard to think about outside of that, but where would you like to be? And I think really that was my first foray into thinking about, you know, preparing the youth for the future. And then I went into the Area Agency on Aging in a local county, and I had about 735 volunteers under me, and we worked in programs of national significance. And what that means is programs like literacy, programs like homeless shelters, food banks, and we worked in Title I grade schools to help kids that were challenged with literacy. So again, I was working with youth, trying to get to that next step, is try to prepare. And then my last position, I worked at a community college with the Department of Labor grant. I was the grant director, and it was about preparing the workforce for tomorrow. So I think it was always kind of forward thinking. It was just a couple of different populations I worked in. And now my role, really, I can't call it work because I love it so much and I'm really passionate about what I do.
Right.
But my role as a director of workforce development in Wayne County for the Workforce Alliance is really really a great chance to work within the career link system to further the policies that were established in the federal and state level, but not yet really in the Pocono region. So that's really been my career focus as of late.
Great. And, you know, what level of education do most workforce development professionals have, you know, whether it be associate, bachelor, master's degrees, based on your, you know, colleagues and contacts and experience? Is there a typical level?
I'm going to say yes. I think most of us have a bachelor's, at least to start, right? So many of my colleagues have master's degrees, but that's the next step. So I think to get into the system, you know, if you're not doing a paid internship, was another great way to get into the system, or even a on-the-job training is a really great way to get into the system. But certainly, I think bachelor's degree, because you know, the level of the work that we're doing, you really need to have a really good foothold in some like education.
Sure. So, you know, let's stay on the education track. You know, once formal schooling is over, maybe someone has their bachelor's or master's degree. You know, talk to me about continuing education, professional development in the workforce development sphere or sector. You know, is it mandated or is it just highly encouraged? You know, the continuous improvement and development. Could you talk to me about that?
Sure. I hold a master's degree in public administration with a concentration in human resources in the public sector. I'm also a certified workforce development professional, and our credentialing body is the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals. And in order to maintain my credential, I have to do 30 hours of continue that too. I do lots of that, but continue in education over a 3-year period, and that's really not a lot. I end up doing a lot more because I do lots of workforce GPS webinars. I do lots of that, and I go to lots of conferences, so I get all of my continuing ed in, and I think it's really important because workforce development is so forward thinking that you have to keep up with the trends in workforce and what's coming on the national and federal level.
Great. My favorite question asked during these interviews, what is your favorite part of your job? What do you absolutely love about being a workforce development professional? Or maybe there's many things.
There's many things that I love about my job. I love working with both job seekers and businesses to really develop a really good system. Because once you're employed, that's not the end all to be all. I think we have a responsibility to businesses to help them train their workforce, maybe through incumbent worker training to get to the next level. So I think it's our responsibility to kind of keep the cycle moving. We need to upskill our entry level to middle skill, so there's still an entry level, vacuum that we could, onboard people. So I really enjoy thinking about the system and the way to utilize the systems for the betterment of the individual and the business. And I think that's the only way we can move forward in the economy, especially of today, is that we all need to work together.
Absolutely. How about the most challenging or frustrating part of being a workforce development professional, if any?
There's lots. And you asked me this question, and I really had to think about it because it's the constraints of the workforce development system as it is, because it is a system, it's static. Mm-hmm. So we're able to have funding for training for things on the high priority occupations list, which yep. is a historical look of the last 6 months or 8 months to a year mm-hmm. of those jobs. It's not really a forward thinking. I can think of an example. Medical billing and coding is still on our high priority occupation list, but you and I both know in 5 years it's going to be automated. Sure. That robots are going to be doing that job. So are we doing justice to the individuals by training them for something that's going to be obsolete in 5 years? Conversely, contact tracing is a big priority right now. Everybody's talking about that. That's how we're going to get back to work. I don't see any programs that I can pay for to help individuals get that credential.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Talk to me about skills. People skills or soft skills, and those technical or hard skills, which ones are important in your opinion, maybe based upon your experience, to be successful as a workforce development professional? I would assume, being a people person, communication, but, there may be several others you'd like to talk about.
Attention to detail. I think essential skills like attention to detail, problem solving, critical thinking, because many times people or businesses come to you with a problem. And you have to work with them to think around that problem. I think that's part of being a coach too, is to be able to ask the right questions, not just asking yes or no questions, but really kind of getting to the heart of what their issue is and what's preventing them from taking the next level. Hard skills like you have to know how to use social media. You have to know how to use Microsoft Office, right? You have to know how to write concisely, just getting to the heart of it, because I think today people scan for information more than read in depth when they're reading for professional reasons. So you have to learn how to write concisely and have really good communication skills.
Sure. Excellent. What is the one thing you now know about being a workforce development professional that you wish you knew when you started, a few years ago in this industry?
Would have liked a better understanding of the unemployment compensation system.
Sure.
I think that's such a main part of what we're doing lately. I think it's been a learning curve in the last year or so. I never really had to know it cold, and I have to know the unemployment compensation system cold. Other than that, I just think that everything I've learned throughout my career in workforce development really brought me to where I am today, and everything I'm learning is just really, just helps me be a better professional.
Sure. And what type of advice would you give to a young person, or really anyone who's thinking about workforce development as a career? Is there any advice that you would offer them?
Yeah, so there's lots of opportunity. Find a mentor. If you think you're involved in something like that, get in touch with your career links or your workforce development board or anybody at EOC, and just kind of job shadow them for a little while. See if you can do an internship, but pick their brain. Ask as many questions as you can because there are no dumb questions, right? There's really cool websites. If you're into looking at websites, it's Workforce GPS has really good information. Also, Workforce 180. There's a, Mike Fazio does a phenomenal job with his trainings. He also does a podcast. It's 180 Podcast, and it's all about workforce development. So you can listen to workforce development professionals around the country about career guidance, job searching, how to write a resume, what's supposed to be on your resume. And resumes are not biographies. So that's my one lesson for today.
The marketing documents, right?
It's a marketing document. It's not a biography.
That's right. That's what we tell job seekers all the time too. And is there anything else you'd like to say about your profession? Maybe something we haven't covered that you feel is important?
I think workforce development is really my life's work. It's a passion of mine to help individuals and businesses succeed. And I think it's such a key element. I think it's the human side of economic development. So anytime we're trying to attract businesses, we have to at the same time put workforce development out there, because you can open all the businesses you want, but if you don't have the talent to support that business, it's not going to succeed. So I think we need to work hand in hand with economic developers.
Great. So Helene, on behalf of Educational Opportunity Centers, I want to thank you for sharing your experiences and your knowledge and your passion with us. I know, what you and your colleagues do is so important and so impactful. I want to thank you, especially now, given what's going on in the economy and in the world. So again, I want to thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Thanks, Bill. It's been my pleasure.
Take care. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.